How's it going, film nerds? My name is Ryan Walsh. A lot of people think that Pixar makes family-friendly movies, but that's exactly what Pixar wants you to believe. And in this video, I'm going to be exposing Pixar for who they truly are. We're going to be doing a kill count of all the characters that died in the Pixar movies. Now, I will say right off the bat that there are a lot of Pixar movies, and 20 in fact, as of this point right now. So I'll only be covering the first half of these movies, which is everything from the original Toy Story movie in 1995 all the way up to the Up movie in 2009. And I'm doing this just because there's way too many movies to do in one video, so I'm gonna split it up. So be sure to leave a comment down below and say if you want to see a part 2 to this video so we can do the last half. But let's start off with the movies that didn't have any deaths at all, and don't worry, there are only a few of them, and that is Monsters, Inc., Toy Story 2, and the original Cars movie. I was especially surprised to see that Toy Story 2 didn't have any deaths in the movie, because when I was preparing for this video and researching a bunch, I thought for sure I remembered some characters dying off in that movie, but of course, the beginning was really the only time that any characters died within the whole movie, and that was when we got that awesome fight with Buzz versus Zurg on that random planet. And Zurg did actually kill Buzz in that fight, but the thing is that everything that happened within that first part of the movie was all just a video game that Rex and Buzz were playing, so I can't really count that as a death. But now with all of the movies that didn't have any deaths out of the way, let's take a look at some of the movies that did have some deaths, like the original Toy Story movie. And the first scene is towards the beginning where Sid takes a combat Carl and ties a stick of dynamite to its back, or fireworks. I wasn't really sure about this because they didn't really show it in the movie. It just looked like a stick of dynamite, so that's what I'm gonna call it. And yes, he actually blows it up. Hit the dirt! Okay, and I did want to say at the beginning of this video that Sid is 100% the deadliest kid within all of the Pixar movies. This kid not only blows up toys for fun, but he actually likes to decapitate them as well. I will say though that the two toys that Sid decapitated in the movie, they didn't actually die. Instead, the other toys actually put them back together, so they did end up living, so I can't really count them as a kill count. So within the entire Toy Story movie, there's only one kill that actually happened. Next up is A Bug's Life, and this movie starts off strong with killing one fly in the movie, and this really happens just because one of the flies goes right into a bug zapper.
No! Hurry, no! Don't look at the light! I can't help it. It's so beautiful.
But one of the kills within the movie, which was pretty gruesome, was that Hopper took all of these seeds and dumped it on 3 of his fellow grasshopper members. And now in the movie, it may not look like it's that big of a deal, but the thing is, these seeds are giant, and compared to human beings, if we were that small, these seeds would probably be best compared to a bunch of giant stones that get dumped on people. So when those seeds fell on all 3 of those grasshoppers, I can imagine that the floor probably was just filled with grasshopper blood, and they were smushed instantly on impact, which is pretty gruesome for a Pixar movie. And of course, the final death of the movie really brings us all the way to the end where Hopper gets fed to a bunch of chicks, and that brings the total number of kills within the Bug's Life movie to 5 kills. But honestly, these are rookie numbers, and I think Pixar can do way better than this. So let's move on to some movies that step it up a little bit, and that's Ratatouille, Up, and The Incredibles. Starting off with Ratatouille, there's only one scene within this entire movie that really has any deaths, and this happens when Remy's dad wants to show Remy and make an example of what happens when you hang around humans, and that's when Remy's father brings Remy to the rat exterminator shop within Paris, and we actually see 17 rats within the window, and honestly, this is pretty gruesome for a Pixar movie. I don't know about you, but that's kind of messed up. And this, of course, brings the total kill count for Ratatouille to 17 kills. Now, I think when it comes to the movie Up, people know exactly what the deaths are in this movie, especially the ones that happen right at the beginning of the movie, because they're probably some of the most emotional deaths within the entire Pixar franchise. That's when Carl and Ellie actually have a miscarriage within the beginning of the movie, but also not only the miscarriage happens, but Ellie dies herself, Carl's wife. And this movie really starts off with probably one of the saddest beginnings ever. But jumping to the middle of the movie, Charles Mutz shows Carl his true colors by revealing the deaths of 3 other explorers and really just knocking their heads over like they're nothing. So I'm gonna count these because the movie starts off when Carl is just a little kid all the way up to when he's an old man. So within this time frame, those people did die. And not only did Pixar have a miscarriage and Carl's wife dying in this movie, but they also decided to kill 14 dogs when they ran off a cliff and went into the water, getting killed by the rapids or at least the fall. And of course, the end of the movie, Charles Muntz himself, the villain of the movie, got killed by just falling to his death. We didn't really get to see it, but the thing is, he fell from the sky, so you're thinking, yeah, he's probably dead. Which brings Up's kill count to 20 deaths. Next up in the Pixar lineup is The Incredibles. Now, this is definitely probably one of the most obvious movies to have a bunch of deaths within it because it's superheroes fighting supervillains, and you'd think, yeah, there's gonna be casualties in this movie because these heroes are putting their lives on the line, and that's exactly what we get. Especially when we see Mr. Incredible finding Gazer Beam within the cave, and we see him in a skeleton form, which 100% means this dude's dead. Or even when Mr. Incredible finds out that 11 of his fellow superheroes have died because of the syndrome robots. But don't worry, not only superheroes were killed in this, but even supervillains get their own in this movie as well, when the Incredibles take out a bunch of syndrome soldiers. And I'm pretty sure throughout all the battles that they had, there were 12 of them that died in the movie. And Syndrome himself even got taken out because of one of the biggest lessons the movie was trying to really get across. And that is, if you're ever a superhero or a supervillain, don't wear a cape.
Meta Man, Express Elevator. Diner Guy, snag on takeoff. Splashdown, sucked into a vortex. No capes.
Bringing the Incredibles kill count to 30. You know, a lot of these movies really have racked up some pretty hefty death tolls, but this isn't even the worst that Pixar has really shown, because the next couple movies really show you how big of a monster Pixar truly is. And that brings us to WALL-E, where the creators of this movie love to show the audiences a bunch of cute, lovable WALL-E robots, but the thing is, we're gonna find all of these robots when they're not in the prime, but instead, when they're all just a bunch of corpses and we just see them lingering in the scene. And yes, I went throughout all of these scenes and I did count every single WALL-E that I saw on Earth, and the total number that we got to see on screen was about 68 of them. Now, I know there's probably a ton more WALL-Es throughout the entire world because this is a global issue where humans actually destroy the entire planet by just having too much trash. So there's probably WALL-Es throughout the entire planet. But the thing is, we don't have a solid number on how many WALL-Es there would be, or even how many there are within this one city. And I'm pretty sure this is New York City just because of where WALL-E actually took off in that rocket going into space on the Axiom. So I'm pretty sure that New York City, this is just one little part of it, and we could actually explore the entire city, finding thousands of WALL-Es just in New York City alone. So there's probably millions around the world. But the thing is, we don't have the necessary information in the movie to really back up that claim, so I'm not gonna put it on the kill count. So it's just 68 WALL-Es. However, though, these weren't the only robots killed within the movie, because when we get on the Axiom itself, there are a grand total of 37 security robots that get trashed as well. And that's really all the deaths that happened within the movie. Now, going into this movie and really calculating all the deaths, I thought that this movie was going to have a lot of people dying within the movie as well, and I thought we were going to be racking up numbers with that. But the thing is that yes, this is a post-apocalyptic movie, but as said at the beginning of this film, it seems as though there are Axiom ships taking off every single day during the apocalypse, so the population of Earth did just go into space and everybody seems to survive. They didn't really say a lot of people died at all. And even because of this scene, we do know that there were several generations that did die off in this movie because they have been on the ship for 700 years. That doesn't give us a certain number on how many people really died because the population of Earth is ever expanding. For example, we really can just look at the gap between 1960 and 2017. The population of Earth expanded more than 4.49 billion people. So when the movie picks up in the year 2805, we have no idea how many people actually have died between these 2 points. So we just can't really calculate that, bringing WALL-E's total kill count to 105 deaths. And with wrapping up WALL-E, this brings us to the depths of the ocean, which is Finding Nemo. We start off this family-friendly film just like we did with Up, where not only did Marlin's wife die, but also over 400 of his babies actually got eaten as well. The movie didn't specifically say exactly how many eggs there were at the beginning. The only thing we actually heard was that there were over 400 of them. So I'm just gonna calculate at 400 because I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. And of course, add 1 because of Marlin's wife. And if this didn't show you exactly how savage Pixar is, I don't know what will, because that's over 400 babies. And that's pretty messed up if you really think about it, especially when this is supposed to be a family-friendly franchise. But don't worry, the massacre doesn't even stop there, because we're gonna be moving on to another scene where we actually get to see a devil child holding a bag with a dead fish in it. Of course, we're gonna count this because obviously this really happened within the movie, and we do actually see a picture of a dead fish. Even the end credits scene in this movie has a fish dying, except it's the meaner looking one, so it's not that bad. But really, just looking at all the deaths in Finding Nemo, this is 100% the deadliest movie because it brings our total to 403 deaths. And within all the Pixar movies put together so far, just half of them, 581 deaths, showing how savage and how horrible Pixar truly is. And I do want to say as well that I was inspired by Film Theory's death count that they did on all of the Disney movies, so that's why I decided to do this Pixar one. So go over Film Theory if you haven't already, and actually check out their Disney death count because they did a great job with that. And if you like this theory and you want more just like it every week, definitely consider subscribing and turning on the bell notification down below. But thank you all very much for watching, and as always, embrace your inner film nerd. Bye-bye.